How long do you usually run the design sprints? Is it a day? Is it multiple days?
An hour. Short and sweet.
How do you use the How Might We framework? Do you use that? Have you used that?
Yes, all the time. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. So we used it recently for this project. It kept us to an hour again. And we got through it, which was really exciting. But based on the problems we want to solve for, we asked 3 how might we questions. And sometimes I'll section these off. Let's do this section first, this one. But for this project, we just did a free-for-all and had everyone in the meeting add stickies to each of these questions. For 10 minutes, we did that. We grouped them all together and started creating themes on those how might we stickies on different areas of tasks.
Hey folks, welcome to Sneak Peek. Super stoked today because a lot of you have been emailing me and telling me that, Jay, we love all this Figma in-depth, high-level fidelity, pixel-perfect designs, but can you show us some of the design discovery work? Can you show us some of the design sprint? Like, how does that happen? And folks, I'm going to make it happen today because I've got with me Andrea, who is a staff designer at Lattice, and she's going to show us how she does design discovery for all her projects. How does she do facilitation, workshops, everything using Figma, FigJam. Andrea, super stoked to have you.
Awesome.
Let's see you do the sneak peek gesture. Yeah, perfect. So question, whenever you're starting a project first, what does design discovery mean to you? What is the first couple of things you will do before the project even starts? When someone says, hey, do some design discovery.
Yeah, design discovery. It really just understanding the problem space and really getting in the weeds with my PM on what we want to dig into and get more details on, what area we're focusing on.
I love that. And it's because like rather than jumping into Figma and creating the screens, you're saying that let's first figure out what the problem you're solving together. What is that problem? But how do you lay that out? Like how do you on a document or a FigJam, how do you lay all this together? Can we see that, what that layout looks like, capturing that information?
Yeah. So see, my PM will usually come with a lighter PRD and bring that to the table so we can start having discussions around that. That'll start in Notion. And then from there, I'll do my own design PRD, taking that knowledge. Sometimes those are a little more technical and I translate that into a mini design brief. And then I have a template for that actually I can share. Let's just kick off a new project. Let's go here, test. So I have this little one pager I've put together and I'll have the PRD side by side and I'll go through this one pager and start filling this out where it makes sense. I'm not answering every question, but this really gets me ramped up on what we want to dig into, not necessarily the problem we want to solve, because that could shift at any time really, but this is just how I wrap my head around.
Do you have an example of this that is filled out? Like I'm trying to understand that. Do you fill this out, document, like before you go into the depth in designing in Figma, do you try to get all those answers or is it more of like you update it along the way?
Really updating this along the way. Let me see if I can find an outdated project fit down, maybe data check project brief. Here we go.
Oh my God, you've answered all these questions.
Yeah, so going through, and I will share this with my team too, so I think it's just important to start with the purpose of the document. This isn't the PRD, it's more just to get aligned around the problem and use it as a resource along the way, just from the design lens. And so I'll go through that, and again, PRD's right next to this. I'm articulating that from a design perspective, going through the project overview, why this is important. This brief is really focused around the user and the user problem, and we'll go through assumptions, dependencies, and risks. And I'm really bringing my PM with me along the way just to make sure we're aligned and I'm understanding this the right way. So there's a lot of back and forth in this. And then I'll just start throwing down ideas, looking at, have we attempted this before? In a lot of cases, we have. On several projects I've worked on, we've attempted this maybe a couple of years ago. I'll pull up old artifacts to see maybe what was working, why we abandoned, those sorts of things. And then I'm starting to go through and looking at maybe existing patterns we've done that are accomplishing solving a similar problem, going through our platform. I'll start pulling screenshots. And then staying really high level, but how might we solve this? Not getting too in the weeds on solutioning yet, but just some very high level of things we want to help the users do.
How long does filling this document take? Like couple of days, couple of weeks, roughly?
I would say my PM is really good at writing up solid PRDs, so I can usually crank these out in an hour or two. Yeah, just going back and forth in Slack. I'll ask questions, just to get some clarification on things.
The benefit I see from this is you're asking all the relevant questions and information up front so that when you're in the design phase and you're in Figma, you already have all the questions answered pretty much because filling out this document rather than getting stuck at that moment and being like, I don't know how this works.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I keep this updated through the course of the project. I use it really early on, but it really helps us just wrap our head around what we're solving for and being on the same page.
Reading through the PRD, creating your own design version of the PRD. But after this, how do you go about looking at user research for this, or maybe seeing if there's research done on, maybe there's some insights you can gather from that? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, for this project in particular, this was like a clear problem that we really didn't need to do user research for. In a lot of cases, we'll go through and set up a user research plan together and then go and do user interviews. There's a project we're working on right now. I think we've done upwards of 15 user interviews, but this one we skipped that altogether because this was just a glaring problem in the UI that we needed to fix and knew what to fix. The one thing with this project, we had more conversations around scope and time. And so in knowing that, I brought the team through, let's find this project up here, Figma tabs, data, check, share. Okay. And so I got the team together after I pulled just a really high level overview because I try to keep design sprints like an hour or less when I can.
My ears perked up as soon as you said design sprint. So you said there was a clear cut need for this problem in this project, like what they had to do. So you ran a design sprint for the goal of alignment, or come up with different solutions. What was the goal of this design sprint for you? Or why do you even run design sprints?
Yeah, so this one, I really want to bring other disciplines to the table and get other ideas because this project, it was pretty technical, and bringing engineers in to help solve for this was really beneficial. It helped me design a solution that everyone else contributed to. So yeah, and then when bringing the engineers through the problem, they're bringing really great ideas because they're like, oh, what about this from that technical lens? And I feel like when they understand the user problem, you're getting better ideas rather than when you don't understand the user problem, you do get a different set of ideas. So yeah, I find that's really important just to bring them through, help them feel the pain sometimes that the users are feeling.
When you run a design sprint, you have all these engineers coming into FigJam. They may not have even used FigJam. So do you teach them the tool or how this works, like what this thing is about during the design sprint itself? Or is it like there's some homework that they have to go through before?
Yeah. So the team I'm on now, before this working session, they were familiar with FigJam. We do retros in FigJam. So there's just the basic navigating around. Now the design files, that's a little bit different. We can dive into that if you want, but FigJam is pretty, I feel straightforward. We use voting, grouping, sticky notes, those sorts of things.
And then how long do you usually run the design sprints? Is it a day? Is it multiple days?
An hour. Short and sweet. Yeah. I try and keep these super short. Sometimes if we feel like we're not done, everybody's always willing to jump in. I'll schedule another hour, but I keep them an hour. And then if we need more time, I'll schedule time on a different day just to have a little bit of a pause.
For this specific design sprint, you wanted to align with the cross-functional stakeholders on the scope and also the time. So how did you lay out this board and everything to achieve that? If you can walk me through it.
Yeah, this one was a really quick one. I really just pulled together. The team had knowledge of this problem. We all knew it was a major pain point. So didn't feel the need to provide a lot of context here. But what I really did is I pulled together the overview of what we were trying to solve for, the pre-read of the PRD and design brief the team already had read before coming into this. And then just some requirements, the problem and requirements for how we need to solve this problem and things we need to consider. And then I pulled together the user flow, the current user flow, and brought the team along in this flow where the problems are. And after we did that, we pause, ask questions. People will bring up really great points at this phase. And that's where I'm adding like sticky notes, extra notes. I'll take notes on the side.
So these are the notes that you took based on the input that the engineering and everyone was giving. Wow.
Yeah. So I'll even still have questions during this phase. Can we do this? Why is this way? We're just jamming in this phase. This one went really fast, so you're not going to see as many sticky notes here if we had a lot of context. But yeah, I'll be throwing sticky notes all over this for other projects too. Like the next thing from the design brief, we'll go through and look at existing patterns at Lattice that solve this problem in a similar way. And rather than just calling them out in the design brief, I'll pull together those flows. So this was a data check project, and we didn't have knowledge that there were data checks in other parts of the product. And so this was really great. We just started going through navigating Lattice and pulling screens together. Oh, hey, we do a data check elsewhere over here. And so that brought up a whole discussion of maybe having a data check pattern that we can use everywhere in Lattice. So we always go back to that systems thinking. That's where my head's always at when I see things. I'm like, where else do we do this? Can we make it the same or consistent and familiar in other places? So this was really cool to see that there were a couple other areas we were doing solving this problem, but they were both different. So there were 3 places we were solving the same problem in different ways.
So also by doing this exercise of finding those existing patterns, you're saving engineers time from building from scratch again.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of reusing, but this really got us discussing after this project, we should really revisit this whole data check process and come up with a system that we can use across all of Lattice.
And then all this happened within 1 hour. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I feel like this process and just these really quick ones, they're super energizing because we just get in there and we have an hour, so we got to go and everyone's contributing. So yeah, I found like that hour is the sweet spot. But again, sometimes we need to schedule an additional if there's a lot to cover.
So you had the 1 hour design sprint, kind of talk about the time and the scope. But during this 1 hour, do you also ask like the team to sketch out some ideas? What are some good ideas? What are some bad ideas? Do you do any exercises or that's something separate?
Yeah, let me see that one. Yeah, we'll do sketching. Oh, here we go. Employee pay sketch session. Yes, we do that. This one's very old. But yes, sometimes it builds on, or I'll ask like a very specific question and we'll drill into the UI, just how to visualize something. This one was around visualizing employees on a comp band and how we might do that through data viz. I had one engineer who was like really into data viz, and his ideas were so cool. So that was really fun. But yeah, it really depends on where we're at in the project, what we know, what we don't know, how fast we're moving.
Who sketched this? Did you ever get pushback from non-designers that they're not really good at drawing and sketching? Like, how do you address that?
I'm a horrible drawer. I'm down here. This is me. I'm like, we're moving fast. I could slow down and draw, but these are, if you have 3 minutes, go.
And then when you're facilitating these sessions, is it you solo or do you have a partner in crime that kind of helps you with the facilitation?
It's usually just me. Yeah, for the design working sessions, I'll facilitate. I'll align with the PM beforehand on what we want to call, what we really want to get out of it, but then I'll facilitate.
Like I'm looking at the stickies and I'm like, I wonder what the final design turned out like.
Yeah, it's these files. That's when I was like, I want to organize these for you, but we'll leave them. We're going to leave them how they are. So it's just moving fast, getting these set up and diving in.
It seems like this is also similar to this, like sketching stuff. Well, what is this exercise you're doing here?
Yeah. So this exercise, this was after I walked everyone through and went through the problem. And this problem, so going into this project, there was an idea of just how we should solve it. We got into a solution really quick, but I really wanted to back up from there. Let's back up a bit and talk about how we can think about this in a different way.
Why is it bad if immediately within 10 minutes, everyone jumps into how to solve this?
I felt the solution was we could do better. It was like, we can make this better. Let's back up. It was so narrow, and it was getting really hard to, if we stayed that narrow, to think outside the box. And this was around error handling. And so I really wanted to think about how can we prevent this error from happening in the first place? And we were thinking about how to get to the next step after the error. And it's okay, let's back up from that.
Let's say I'm very nervous. I have my engineer, I have my PMs, everybody on the call, and I think everyone is jumping to a solution very quickly, and I feel that we can do better. How do I approach the conversation? How would you advise me? Should I just DM my director on the side? Hey, we need to do a separate exercise. Do I just in front of the meeting and everyone be like, God damn it, we can do better? Which route would you recommend, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I think in this project, we were still in the exploration phase, so everyone was really open to just stepping back in this case. But I keep this image on hand. It's from former colleague Wes O'Hare. He had a blog post of this, and it's just about abstracting the problem. And so here it's design a better can opener, and it's why, to get the soup out of the can, and how to make the can opener on the can. This one, where we were at, is we were making the air more appealing. And so this is getting to that different place and thinking about this differently. And we were going here. And so I really wanted to focus on stepping back and going here, this route, with this problem.
But I feel this image is the reason why we don't have to use a can opener to pop open the soda bottles or the soda cans.
Right?
Okay. You got everyone to say, let's step out for a second, let's step back. But then what framework, what exercise did you guide them through to help them look at different solutions?
Yeah. So this was a really fun exercise. I had actually never done this before, but I had heard of it. And this felt like a good one because we had this idea in our head of just how we could solve this. And so stepping back, I'm let's look at this from a different perspective, because we're so dialed in on how we can solve this already. Let's step back, abstract it, and then start thinking about this in a different way. And we call this the inversion exercise, where we brainstorm bad solutions. What would just be a bad solution for this? And so we what we should avoid, what solutions wouldn't solve the problem. And this really helped us when we were going through the actual solutions. We could reference this and point to it and be like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's a bad solution. And this was really great. It was just a really fun exercise. We went through just several different questions. This one, 3 different sections on what we were focusing on the problem. And then we went through and started grouping and aligned on the inverse of this. So we would group these bad solutions by themes, and then okay, what's the inverse of this theme? And that helped us start thinking about good solutions. A really fun exercise. I haven't done it since this project, but this is in my back pocket. It was a lot of fun and just got us thinking in a different way.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it too, so I'm really stoked to try it out someday.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But that was only an hour. We were going to go through and do unknowns and what we're worried about and talk about scope in that meeting, but to keep it short. And we agreed we had enough and moved on, and then dove into synthesizing this, getting alignment on what we learned from this exercise. We'll share that out in something like Slack, and then move on to ideating on the solution.
This is amazing. I'm just geeking out on the way everything is laid out. I'm wow. I like the way you're grouping all this stuff. And I'm also wondering, when you have a project, let's say for that project, you've already done research or there's existing research, how do you share your learnings or synthesis from that research with the rest of the team, rather than saying, go watch all these videos that I also watched?
Yeah. Let me go to this project here, working session. So this project, my PM and I had conducted a ton of interviews. We're still doing them just because we're learning so much that could inform the future state of this project. Yeah, I think at this point we had done about 10 to 15 interviews. And then we use the tool Marvin. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really great tool. The AI in there is fantastic. It helps analyze your interviews. I'm going through and like tweaking after AI does what it does, but it pulls together themes. And then from there, I'm trying to find where it's, oh, this was the calendar project where it's here. Okay. So I'll pull in findings and user quotes and pull that into the working session. And then I'll call out some various ones if there's themes. I think in this case, we just grouped by findings, pain points, and needs. But yeah, in some cases, we'll theme these a bit more. There wasn't like a huge need to go through these individually. So for the setup of this, let's see, over here, we were looking at pain points and user stories we wanted to solve for. So this was MVP, I guess you could call. We're just getting it out and testing this project. I'm doing the bare minimum. So we know the pain points, but what's the minimum we can do? And so that's what we were focusing on for this project. And my PM and I, we lived in this space. But for other projects, I'll do a sort of similar exercise, but organize it a bit more so it's more digestible. So you're not having to go through and read each sticky. I'll summarize the themes of what we're finding in the user interviews.
I like that you're doing the hard work and removing the friction for other cross-functional stakeholders, rather than asking an engineer to say, engineer, go and watch this 2 hours of research interviews. You're saying, here are all the findings and the stickies that I found from watching those interviews. Then they also have context. I love this. And do you ever also link to the actual user research interview, like a video or something there, if they're more curious, aside from the stickies?
Oh yeah, Marvin's really great in that way. You can just stitch together quotes from different interviews and just make a single video, keep it pretty short, and we can share that out, and it will just go through all the interviews, little bites from each interview that we can share out with the team. And sometimes they'll come to interviews too. It's always an open invite. Join if you want when we have them. And we'll share like a wrap-up call for some projects or wrap-up video out in Slack just for teams.
My eyes are scanning like a hawk on every single thing that's on this board. It's like the shiny new object syndrome. I see like those user flows. And my first thing is, what is that user flow and why are you doing that there? Is that even a user flow?
Yeah, this one, so we use Lattice here. So doing user research, it usually starts with us. We just talk to experts for whatever project we're doing. And so we had the initial call for this project. And after that call, this was me just taking a stab at a potential user flow and what we're seeing. And I'll use this as a discussion with the PM and stakeholders. And then I'll also bring this back to the internal customers that we interviewed and walk through this just to make sure I'm understanding things right. And then from here, this will help guide the user research plan and areas we want to dig into a bit more, like in this user flow. What might people do differently? What aren't we understanding fully? Where are the problem areas? And we'll use that to guide like what questions we ask going into those external calls. And then this will get refined as we learn and we'll carry on from there.
All right, got it. So basically you're creating based on your understanding of process, the way the app works, or the way the product works. You're creating this user flow to make sure that you have the right understanding. And not only just you, but everybody working on this project.
Yep. And this is all happening with that design brief. So I'm in the design brief. I'm like, oh, I need to diagram this. I'll jump in here and diagram this, go back to the design brief. It's all happening like this phase right here. It's just a really high level flow. These get more complex as we learn.
What if I tell you I'm lazy and I don't even want to do this? I want to skip this.
I mean, you could, I guess. This is just helping. I feel like it's a good way to visualize. And for the team, some of us are like, some like documents, some like a more visual representation of the flow. So this kind of supports either or.
Makes sense. And then once you've gathered this information, I feel like this is turning into ask all the questions you ever wanted to ask an expert on design facilitation. I think that's what this is turning into. But I think after this, normally either I would do a UX audit and now understand the user flow. Maybe there's an existing like some interface that is already existing that I need to improve. So I'm curious to know now, how do you go about conducting a UX audit in any of the projects you've done?
Oh gosh, I love a good audit. Let's look at, I have a lot of audits here. So I'll go through, yeah, this is fun too, because we're doing it together. I'll pull together, this was a really big, just understanding the product area. I came onto a new team and had very little knowledge of, this was called comp cycles. And so I pulled together pretty much every screen I could from that product area and went through, grouped them by different areas, took notes along the way. And I made notes of like where I was confused, what wasn't making sense, and just went through every screen and then brought these notes to my PM. And we went through these just to see if there was any signal there, if she was thinking about anything on the same page. And then, so this was like a personal audit.
Oh, this is so comprehensive. This entire UX audit, it's massive.
I had to wrap my head around this big product area and get ramped up pretty quickly. So it's like, I'm just going to go through and screenshot everything. And this was really helpful for not only ramp up, but understanding what the user is going through when they're setting up a comp cycle in Lattice.
Can you show me an example where you were confused?
Definitely. Yeah, let me get in here. It's been a minute. Oh, this is the data check here. Let's see. Okay, that one. I haven't been in this file in a minute.
I'm wondering if there's some color coding, like yellow is for like observations, maybe blue is for...
I wish I remembered. That's a really good idea. I wish I remembered what these colors were. Yeah, so this one, I was just auditing this nav, like the content, and going through this, I remember not knowing what I was going to get when I get to the rules and rating step. What's going to be on this page? What am I going to do here? So this felt more like setting up the comp cycle. So I was just proposing, maybe we should call this setup or something, or eligibility, because what you're doing here is really setting who is eligible for this comp cycle. And so rules and ratings doesn't come across. And let's see here. Oh yeah. And then this little note. So to do a comp cycle, you're adding employees to the comp cycle. So I just had a question around, I'll ask questions. I'll throw like sticky notes out with questions too. Like, if I don't have any employees, what happens here? What are we doing in those states? Are we even considering that? Should we be? And then, oh yeah, this one. My internet was working in this state, but I saw this and it felt scary. So I just made a note. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I got here. But yeah, little things like that. And this was a really good learning exercise for me to go through and also for the team, because some of these things the team didn't even know existed.
Blown away by the fact, because maybe you were assigned to the project to help with the designs of it, but you went in and did this massive audit and you'd not seen the product before. So you were coming with fresh eyes. Rest of the folks might have been working for a couple of months. So they're used to seeing this again and again. It might feel obvious, the flow. So when you brought all these from the audit to the PM, were they surprised? Were they shocked? Were they happy? What was their initial reaction?
Yeah, my PM had been on this team for a while. And some of this, it was like, yes, we know, we want to work on this. The really fun, when I shared this with engineers, it really helped them feel the pain and want to make it better. And so it really created like motivation and energized everyone to really focus on making this experience better in different areas. Like now everyone wants to do all the things, but now we need to go back and prioritize, because everyone's excited to fix all these little areas that were called out here, but then we still have to take a step back and look at priorities.
How do you go about helping the team figure out the priorities? Is there like an exercise? Is there like voting that you do? Like I've conducted design sprints to figure out the priority, what the team should focus on. Some of my friends have done matrix to figure out. So I want to know, what are the frameworks that you use to help the team figure out this is something we must do versus this is not important?
Yeah, let's go into filtering. Oh, I feel like this is something. Okay, yay. Okay, yes. So that audit I just walked through, that was my personal audit. my design partner, Carrie, and we were both on different parts of comp cycles, but it was all connected. It's all related. There was like pre-launch and post-launch. So after doing that personal audit, we were like, we should have the team do an audit. Let's see where the team thinks the pain points are and what isn't working well. So we did the same exercise, pulled all the screens in here. And you can quickly see, so there's some from Carrie writing notes, the team's down here, all the devs are in here for writing notes in the pain points section. And this was async. So this would have taken more than an hour if we were all together. And we shared this out and asked the team to do this in their spare time, block off time on their calendar. So what made it work is we did actually block the time off, but we didn't meet. It was blocking the time off to get in and do this exercise. And then we all met and quickly walked through the pain points and started voting. We had people go through, do +1s, where they agree, where on the pain points for this audit exercise. And then from there, so we have different sections in this comp cycle setup. You'll see down here the names. We pulled out the themes up here from the voting. So each section pulled out the themes from each row. And then let me go over here so I can review this really quick. Pain points. Yes, that was async. So phase B, this is where we did the Eisenhower matrix.
What is that? I have no idea. What is the Eisenhower matrix?
Yeah, so this is really a prioritization matrix, and you can customize this based on what you need for prioritizing. We went with the horizontal was confidence, things we are really sure in. If we're really confident, we can probably move really quickly on it. And then impact. So we did high impact, low impact for the vertical axis. And then we took these stickies, started pulling these over, just duplicating them, pulling them over, and we would plot. So what I would do in this exercise is I would just go like this, and we would say higher, lower, and then I'd start going like this, and then everyone would be like there, and then we drop it. If someone would need more discussion, like if there was, maybe not everyone agreed, we would call it out and we would explain why we didn't agree. And if we were all persuaded, we would move it another direction. But that's really fun as well in FigJam, just to move around and be like hot, cold, over here, which also facilitated some really great discussions around this project. Because if someone thinking is high confident and maybe an engineer is coming in and saying with low confidence, we're like, why? Where's the discrepancy here? And a lot of times it's the engineer that has low confidence might know more about the space and has more questions or doesn't know it, or the opposite of that. So yeah, it's really fun and gets a lot of good discussion. And I'm always taking notes. We'll record the session and refer back to it.
Wow. I'm just blown away by this. There's actually a lot of stickies in there. Do you do another round of voting on these things to figure out which one actually gets prioritized?
Yeah. So this exercise, let me go back here. So the PM and EM and I went back and we laid these out in just a Notion table, these key problems, and started crafting user stories, and then started shifting things around based on time scope, what made sense, the order, and started fixing these problems. Some we needed to dig into more, but these high confidence ones, it was pretty clear what we needed to do. So we were able to move quickly on all these green. These ones needed sort of over here. They need more investigating. We don't really know everything here. And then as you get further in the confidence, it's going to take more time, more discovery, probably some interviews, more research, etc.
This was possible because you did a lot of the legwork up front while having the team async fill out their pain points, like a team audit. What did you prepare in that flow already? Did you just put in the user flow screenshots? When you shared that document or this document with the team to do their own audit, what information did you already provide them so they don't have to do and find stuff?
Yeah, I wrote a really long, not a super long, it was a digestible Slack message, semi-long, with emojis and all the things to make it fun to read. Just why we're doing this, what the goal of it is, and that how everyone can get in here and help us and just get aligned on the pain points here. Yeah, I'm trying to remember I need to be better about.
You're already an A+ in my book when it comes to organizations. Don't even get me started. This is just like next level stuff.
Here we go. I found it. Okay. Yeah. So I just sent something like this out. I don't really remember what I said. I'm reading it with you. So it looks like in this message, I didn't totally explain the matrix exercise, but we had done this before. So the team was familiar on how to do it. But had everyone not been, I would have gone into more depth on how that works.
Wow. Now just reading that, and the proactiveness on this is just next level. Rather than asking permission from the director of engineering, should we do this or not? You went in this FigJam document that already has all the screenshots. So the only thing someone has to do is go in, view it, and put in their feedback. You made it really easy. So the gist I'm getting is, in enterprise design, rather than you waiting for the product manager, engineering manager to come to you with answers or tell you what to do, you are being proactive, you and Carrie, by doing all this team UX audit and asking the questions, having the team think about these questions.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about this. I forgot about this part of the exercise too. The
Moscow, yes. That's literally what I was going to ask. What is Moscow? 'Cause I saw that somewhere.
And this was also part of this. Yes. Okay. So this, let me go over here now. Okay. So this such session, this was the next step. Okay. So we wanted to align on prioritize what we wanted to tackle in Q4 using the Moscow method. So Moscow is must do, should do, could do, and won't do, both for the pre-cycle, which was my design area, and then active cycle, which was Carrie's. And then starting with the stickies. So I copied this matrix down here, copied that and brought it up here. You'll see there's no stickies because we drug them all.
So question, does one do the Eisenhower matrix first and then do the Moscow, or it doesn't matter in which order they go about it?
I think it depends on the need. This helped us get to like impact confidence. And now we're really getting into, okay, what do we prioritize and how do we prioritize? So that just felt the Moscow was the next best exercise to achieve that goal. Yeah, I think it just depends on what you're looking to achieve. And we knew we needed to prioritize and figure out what we were going to do.
So you took all the stickies that everyone voted for high confidence in that top right corner, and that is what went through the Moscow framework to figure out what out of all these stickies, which one is a must do.
So we took this whole matrix and then put this here, and then we started with the ones that were over here, and this is all coming back to me now. So we pulled them over as a team into the areas like must do we discussed, and then would drop it. And then again, this would facilitate great discussion too, because if we have one in the must do and maybe someone thinks it should do, you have that discussion around why, what are the risks, what aren't we thinking about? So yeah, that really helped us lay out the priorities. This must do column, not everything got prioritized, but was the initial area of focus that we all aligned on and what we wanted to dig into first. And then you also get into some things that are like could do's, but quick wins. And so sometimes you try and fit those in where you can, like, oh, down here, this is what this is. So like paper cuts, we call them. They're just like little things that we can do really quickly while fixing paper cuts.
So when it comes to like figuring out the priority, it's still at that specific project level, right? It's not like the entire roadmap for 2024 for Lattice, right? But this is just within this realm of this project. What is the must do that the team should do?
Like for this one? Yeah. So this is pretty high level. I'm trying to back up and think again where we landed on.
Like, let me rephrase the question. I think here's what I'm trying to figure out. I worked in organizations where product team would kind of go in their silo and then figure out the roadmap for 2024 and involve design just to do the designs for that. But all the discovery, all the solutioning, all the scoping is done. And design is just coming in, do the pixel level work. That's it. So what I'm trying to figure out is by doing the Eisenhower matrix and the Moscow framework, it seems like you pretty much together with other stakeholders figure out the roadmap and priorities for the calendar year. So in my mind, it was like, damn, like design has a very strong seat at the table at Lattice. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Yes. Yeah, it's really the nice thing. It's from the product side, you choose how involved you want to be. So if there's a designer that's not as comfortable like being this involved in facilitating these exercises, that's totally okay. There's PMs that will do these exercises. I love this stuff. I love getting into discovery. I feel like it makes pushing the pixels. I spend very little time pushing pixels on things we're moving really fast on because I feel like we're all aligned on the problem. And this really helps us wrap our head around what exactly we want to do. And then we even get into how we want to solve for it. We'll do, those sketch sessions and really narrow that scope quickly. But we're doing that together. So start broad, diverge, converge. We're doing a lot of that. And then in the end, once we get into actual pushing pixels, the engineers have a really good understanding of the problem. They're getting in, leaving comments. We're sharing our work constantly. It's making that collaboration just super easy. And the communication's always really strong because we all know what we're solving for and what we're going to do to get there.
I feel like even though the product manager could do some of these exercises, my hot take is that every designer should also be involved in this, because then you get to see from the high level or the 10,000 feet view, like what's happening before you jump into Figma and start focusing just on those specific screens.
Yeah, I think we called it exactly that, like the 10,000 foot view of comp cycles. Yeah, that's what this was. No, I was just our research team. So we did start with
user journey. I love it.
Yeah, our UXR team put this together, the user journey, where this is those customer clips. So you could click in and go and see those customer clips, but put together the user journey of the compensation cycle. And this was also shared out with the team. So we have lots of artifacts to work through when we're going through this audit and coming up with pain points and really understand where users were struggling, setting up a comp cycle and what wasn't making sense. So this was really great as well.
You collaborated with the user research team to share the findings. You already have the priority, and most likely the next step might be going into Figma and doing the design. Do you do any kind of like competitive analysis or market analysis where you take screenshots of how maybe some competitors or similar companies in the space might be doing this or approaching the same problem?
Yes, we do. Or when we can. And sometimes it's not competitive market analysis, but sometimes I'm just looking at patterns. Oh, here's an example. So this was a more recent project. I was working on the filter pattern in Lattice. We were updating how users filter data tables and improving that experience. So I had gone through, this was even more specific than that. This was searching the filter menu. So we have a ton of filters in Lattice. We have all of these. This isn't even all of them. Each little chip here, these are fields users can search through. So if you go to the employee directory in Lattice, you can search through all of these employee fields. And finding them if you don't know where to go, it can be challenging. Or if you know what you're looking for and don't want to click through the filter menu, it's easier to search and get to it. So for this project, we went to products we use, I think this is Raycast, going through Slack. We're looking at searching in Slack, searching in Dropbox, searching this Mac OS, and all those patterns. We're looking at Notion, pulling in stickies. So this was, again, a design working session. And since this was a design pattern, I did this with other designers to get other designers' input that were on other teams. So I'm bringing designers in from different product teams and getting input. So everyone's contributing back to the design system. And then, we're going through what's working well, what's not working well, and then synthesizing that. Things we need to consider for our platform. So we have fields that, like this one, for example, if someone is searching the value London, that could be a first name, that could be an office, that could be a time zone. And so how are we going to visualize that to the user and make it make sense? Things we need to think about. And then I went through and emphasized this into different categories. So here I have, help me find what I'm looking for. And so this is going through, I use this as an example from that analysis, displaying that contextual information related to each result, why it's useful. and then some ideas on how we might do that. Again, thinking about must-haves and scope of this project. And then we did like refinement. So you have help me find what I'm looking for, help me narrow down my results, and then help me find my results quickly. Those were just themes I pulled out and added a little more details from that exercise. And then from there, we started abstracting that out into filter search. Here it is. Pull that over here. Shared this diagram on how we're filtering. So we have these different categories, the way we think about it over here. So we have like domain is like this high level grouping. And then we have categories. Fields are these ones, but we also have this concept of field groups. And so I laid that out over here and then started abstracting this out. So think of this as like the search menu. This is where you're searching and these are the results. And I went through on different ways, different strings people could search by, and then brought this to the team and we poked at this. Did a little teardown. Where is this breaking? And then from there, we're going into designs. So this is translating this over to our filter search menu.
Wow. From that competitive analysis to all the way to the final design. Wow.
Yeah. And then we're going over here and then I'll add supporting looms in here and walk through the specs. We'll do a little handoff meeting, but I always include a loom for developers to refer back to if they need. Yeah. And providing different states. And then this was something we scoped out and want to explore further. So I pull those things to the side. I still like noodle on it a little bit, but knowing we're not going to do it, but if we come back to it, I wanted to have just enough there so I can be like, that's what we were doing.
I saw your looms and I was so happy because I want to do the same thing. And then an engineering manager said, Jay, if your hope of doing all these looms and documentation is so that you can never attend a stand-up, forget it. You're going to come to the 8 a.m. stand-up every day and answer any questions. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The looms I try and keep them super short, just like for this section only. I'll do the loom as needed if there's just a little more extra detail. But honestly, I found I need to do this less now that dev mode has introduced so many new features. I'm really trying to tweak my handoff process and way of working with engineers because of those new features. So it's been fun. We're tweaking it together. But yeah.
Andrea, I cannot let you go without asking you, how do you use the How Might We framework? Do you use that? Have you used that?
Yes, all the time. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. So we used it recently for this project I haven't even synthesized this yet. So this is very rough. That's on my list of things to do today. But yeah, this was a project we're doing for improving tasks in Lattice. And so I'll start again with this agenda, why we're here, what we're going to do. Kept this to an hour again. And we got through it, which was really exciting. We had to move quickly, but we time boxed everything and got through it. This one had a little bit longer of an overview than some how might we exercises. So I did share this out prior and asked everyone to read the overview and the user goals. One thing about this project is tasks live everywhere in Lattice. And so other teams are interacting with tasks and understand the pain points at a high level. And so we pulled together the user research, outlined the user goals, business goals, and then the current problems. And then I pulled together some of our existing tasks examples. And then when we got to this meeting, I walked through this at a high level, again, just to give an overview, light one, didn't read everything here. And then for this one, not only did I bring in the team that I'm on, but again, I brought in more designers from other teams because they know more about their tasks and use cases than I do. So they really helped answer questions for me when I'm learning about tasks and engagement or reviews. I don't really know the use cases, so they're bringing that context, which is really great. And I just pulled together like my little sort of high-level thoughts here. Like this is repeating, this is supposed to be a description, just some problems with our current tasks, different types of tasks we have throughout the product. And then from there, I had some questions that my PM and I aligned on what we wanted to get out of this. And based on the problems we want to solve for, we asked 3 how might we questions. And Sometimes I'll section these off. Let's do this section first, this one. But for this project, we just did a free-for-all and had everyone in the meeting add stickies to each of these questions. For 10 minutes, we did that. I think we needed a little extra time for this one, but everyone went through, added stickies. And then I think there was 7 or 8 of us in this meeting. From there, we did like groups of 2. Two people did this section and this section. We grouped them all together and started creating themes on those how might we stickies on different areas of tasks. And so I actually I don't have the AI feature in the design stuff yet, but I did use the AI for this. So I took that first card and asked AI and FigJam to create themes. I haven't synthesized this yet, but I'm gonna go sift through here and see. So I did, let's see here. It's called organize. Yeah, summarize, I think is one. And then over here, sort stickies by topic. Those were the 2 things I used. So this was by topic and this was summarized. So I'm going to go through here and do my own analysis of our manual exercise and then compare that with the AI and use that to support what we did. I'm excited to go through this today to see like the similarities and how AI is going to help us put all this information together and then share it out with the team and identify like the problem areas we want to focus on with tasks.
The how might we problem statements, you crafted that before the sprint, right? Based on the business goals and the user pain points. Like these how might we's in collaboration with the product manager.
Yeah, so we went through these problem statements and then user and business goals. And based off of all of that information, we came up with 3 areas that we wanted to focus on and get input on.
Sweet. Hey, this is Jay. It means the world to me that you watched this video. If you want to unlock the AI design and growth design interviews with designers at some of the top companies in the world, then head on over to sneakpeek.design and subscribe to the newsletter.